Hey, what's ready? Welcome back to News Dose, and we've been hearing a lot about the next generation Xbox console, not only through leaks, but Microsoft themselves have talked a lot about it publicly. But the thing is that we're starting to also hear about a fairly significant competitor that could position itself very well against the next Xbox. So we're going to talk about that today and compare and contrast what you might be interested in more when both eventually releases. Now, we're also going to talk about yet another console reveal, and this one specifically I'm actually very excited about because it's going to open a lot of doors going forward. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go and get right into things, though, starting off with yet another delay for the Nintendo 64 FPGA console, the Analogue 3D. Yeah, this is, I believe, the third or actually maybe the fourth time that they've delayed this, which is kind of crazy considering, they took people's money last year in October, and we still haven't even seen a glimpse of it in action. It really sold on Analogue's reputation alone because, they do make good consoles, but one of its big selling points was that it was going to ship shortly after. Its original release date was planned for Q1, and then they delayed it to Q2, and then they delayed it again to August, and that was supposed to be the time, right? Wrong. Because lo and behold, that's not the case after all. They put out a new press release stating that it's being delayed to a conservative Q4. According to them, everything's practically ready to go, but they're focusing on that final 1% for whatever that means. They're not being too upfront with what that actually means. The way I take it is that they might have run into some kind of issue that they're currently trying to work out. Either which way, though, I don't really fault them for the delay itself. Ship it when it's ready. That's fine. But where I do draw some issue is, they took people's money up front, and they still haven't even shown gameplay. So at the bare minimum, I feel like they should at least show some gameplay to ease people's minds. But right now, it's just a frustrating situation for fans who pre-ordered it, including myself, actually. I did pre-order one because I want a modern Nintendo 64 console to easily show my son some of the games that I grew up with. But, by this point, who knows when we'll actually get it. Hopefully sooner rather than later, but the way Analogue has handled this entire situation, it's really hard to tell. Now, with some of the bad news out of the way, really the rest of the video is all good news, and that starts off with Trails in the Sky First Chapter. Now, I'm actually a big fan of the original PSP title. I think it's an excellent JRPG and one that really holds a special place in my heart. So I'm actually very excited about this game, not only to revisit it after all of these years, but also to see newcomers experience it for the first time. It's got great characters and a good story, so if you like either one of those things, then it gets an easy recommend from me. Well, now I'm also happy to say that for anybody who wants to play it on the Switch too, but wants a physical version, well, we got some great news today. Not necessarily perfect, but still great nonetheless, because it will be digital only on the Switch 2, which is kind of expected by this point, given just how expensive Switch 2 carts are. But as a compromise, they are offering a $1 upgrade for the Switch 1 version, which will have a physical release. Previously, I had a pre-order for the PlayStation 5, but I just changed that today with this news. So this here, in my opinion, is the way that third-party companies should be handling this situation. Switch 2 carts might be too expensive for a lot of these third-party companies, but this is kind of a good middle ground that they can maybe take. I think a lot of consumers would be more than willing to buy a Switch 1 version and then to just upgrade it. In fact, that's been a huge complaint that fans have had for the upcoming Octopath Traveler 0. For whatever reason, Square Enix is refusing to offer any kind of upgrade path, which also keeps people from buying that physical Switch 1 cartridge. And I just don't understand that. I think that does nothing but hurt its potential, but here we are, and Falcom, a much smaller company, mind you, is kind of showing Square Enix how things should be done. Now, we also got a huge announcement today for the long-awaited Hollow Knight Silksong. Yes, we finally got an official release date, and here's the thing. You're not going to have to wait much longer. In just a few weeks, it'll be out on September 4th for all major platforms, which of course includes a day one launch for Xbox Game Pass. Xbox's marketing team had some fun with this announcement today, but yeah, it's been 7 long years. They talked a bit about that in an interview and basically said that wasn't because of development issues or anything like that, but rather it was because they just have a small team and it took them a lot of time to meet what they had envisioned for it. And I will say, just given how good the first game was and still is to this day, I do trust Team Cherry to deliver. I know there's been some saturation within the Metroidvania genre, but even all of these years later, Hollow Knight still reigns supreme as arguably the absolute best the genre has to offer. I'd easily say Hollow Knight, Ori, and Metroid are the top 3 in no specific order. So I just have a lot of confidence that Silksong will follow that experience up, partially because the amount of time that they had to reach their true vision. They confirmed Hollow Knight sold 15 million copies, so that definitely afforded them some extra time, and now we're just going to have to wait and see for ourselves if it can meet its lofty expectations. Here's the thing, though. Don't expect any kind of critic reviews on day one. Team Cherry decided against review codes because they felt that that wouldn't be fair for their Kickstarter backers. They didn't want reviewers to play it before them, which personally I'm perfectly fine with. I don't know if that was necessary, and yes, there are going to be people that might argue that that's a bad sign to not give out review codes, but I just don't feel that way. Again, I do have a lot of confidence in Team Cherry and that they'll deliver another great experience. Okay, so let's go and talk about these new consoles, though, and I want to go and start off with the AYN Thor. This is a new dual-screen handheld, and it looks absolutely incredible. And the reason I say that is because there's still not a great option to play dual-screen games via emulation. With most retro consoles, if you're not a purist, there's a lot of good options out there that you might enjoy even more than native hardware because some of the enhancements that emulation has to offer. Now, if you want to play the DS, the 3DS, or even the Wii U at times, though, well, none of those have a perfect solution just yet. So that's where the AYN Thor comes in. AYN is widely recognized as one of the better emulation console manufacturers. They have a great reputation, and they're pricing their dual-screen Thor very competitively. You can see their pricing chart here, which includes the base model at just $250. Now, if you want a better chipset that can better play games like Wii U titles, then they have options of $300, $350, and also $430. Its top screen is also a 6-inch 120Hz OLED display, and then the bottom is a 60Hz 3.92 OLED. So given the specs and that it has 2 OLED displays, the pricing is beyond phenomenal. And just to kind of put that into perspective, if you were to buy a brand new 3DS XL right now on eBay, it would cost you more than $500 for the United States model. Now, if you get the Japanese version and mod it, which that's actually the better direction to take right now, then that'll be closer to $300. So again, because emulation offers enhancements like better internal resolution, then this really is a fantastic price, and this now really looks to be the best option for anybody who wants to emulate 3DS and DS games. Now, admittedly, though, dual-screen emulation still isn't perfect. They're kind of difficult to set up, and there's definitely some quirks to them, so they do still have some issues, but this could maybe propel that community forward to improve it just that much more. Now, as for the other console that I want to talk about, Valve's widely rumored console seemingly leaked a bit early. I mean, we've been hearing for a while that they've been exploring their own home console, but now it just popped up on the popular benchmarking website, Geekbench. Now, the thing is that even though it popped up a little bit early, I would still take its specs with a grain of salt. I mean, some of it could be correct, but I'll post its specs on screen just so you can see it for yourself. And the first thing that I immediately noticed was that it's listing Windows 11 as its operating system, and that seems a little bit suspect. I mean, if Valve is working on this new console themselves, then you would think that it would utilize SteamOS. That'll give it a very console-like feel. They put a lot of work into that OS, and it just makes sense. Now, these specs also list just 8 gigabytes of RAM. That seems a little bit on the lower end of the spectrum, so I'm not sure about that either, unless maybe they have multiple models, which technically could be the case. Maybe they'll have a budget-friendly 8 gigabyte model and then something a little bit more premium. Valve does offer multiple options for the Steam Deck as well, so maybe, but Either which way, this could be a very interesting competitor for the next generation Xbox. And the reason I say that is because one of the most exciting features that they keep talking about is that the next Xbox will offer multiple storefronts. So even though they haven't fully confirmed it yet, there is a potential chance that it will include Steam. And that's going to be a big selling point for the next Xbox. Not only will it attract gamers who prefer consoles, but it could also attract some of the PC fan base as well. Somebody who wants to get into PC, or maybe somebody who has a big Steam library. They might be enticed to buy into the next Xbox if they want an easy plug-and-play option. However, Valve seems to have their own answer for that. Now, to be completely fair, Xbox will have some games that aren't as easily available on something like a Steam console. Xbox has already confirmed backwards compatibility, and as of right now, a lot of Xbox games, including OG Xbox games and Xbox 360 games, aren't playable on PC without the use of emulation. Also, keep in mind that PC Game Pass still isn't natively available on Linux-based machines, so if Valve decides to use the Steam OS, then that could be a problem for something like PC Game Pass. So the next Xbox could be a better plug-and-play experience for those type of games, but it's still definitely another option for consumers to consider. Let me know what you all think about all this, though. Do you like the idea of a Steam console more, or do you prefer what we've heard about the next generation Xbox? Anyways, though, that's going to be this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.